Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John, and I work for the Holocaust Awareness Museum in Northeast Philadelphia. Our job is to take Holocaust survivors and liberators around to different schools, businesses, and synagogues so that they can tell their amazing story of survival. And your job is to repeat this story to family, friends, neighbors, whoever will listen, so that we can keep the message of the Holocaust alive. With Dave, I've been working with Dave for 3 years. The thing is, just think what you were doing when you were 10 years old. And with Dave, that's truly an amazing story. All right, we're going to have a slight slide presentation, give you a little background of what things were like during the war. April 1st, 1933, German boycott of Jewish businesses. Germans, defend yourselves. Do not buy at Jewish shops. This is when it all began. August 15th, 1935, Nazi rally proclaiming that the Jewish question was far from settled. March 1938, Vienna, Austria. A boy writes Jew on a storefront window after the Anschluss. And the Anschluss is when they took over Austria. November 9th, 10th, 1938, Kristallnacht. Synagogues, businesses, and homes are destroyed. 30,000 Jewish people are arrested. This was called Night of Broken Glass. Polish Jews round up for deportation. As you can see, they're wearing yellow stars on their front and back. This was to distinguish them from everybody else. The top, 1940, the footbridge in the Lodz Ghetto. Bottom, a sign near the footbridge, Jewish residential district, entrance forbidden. Dave spent time at the Lodz Ghetto. And that footbridge, there's a road underneath. If they were to walk on that road, they would be shot and killed. October 1940, Warsaw Ghetto Wall being built. A Jewish doctor's visit in the ghetto. Poem from the Terezin Ghetto. Until after a long time I'd be well again, then I'd like to live and go back home again. Terezin Ghetto was in Czechoslovakia, and this was just a propaganda ghetto. They set it up for the Red Cross to come around and examine how they were treating prisoners. They gave them blankets and pillows, all the comforts of home. And then when the Red Cross left, they sent the prisoners to the gas chambers. September 1942, old and sick Jews from the Lodz Ghetto selected for deportation to Helmo extermination camp. Jewish resistance fighters in the forest around Bialystok, Poland. April, May 1943, Jewish resistors rounded up after the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. This is a very famous photo because of the little boy in the picture. He did survive the war. May 1943, Warsaw Ghetto prisoners and resistance fighters being marched to the train station for deportation to Treblinka and Auschwitz. Captured Jewish resistance fighters. The kids always ask, why didn't they fight back? They tried. They were outgunned and outmanned. And more captured Jewish resistance fighters. As you can see, women fought alongside men during the war. The young lady in the dark jacket, she did survive the war. And more captured Jewish resistance fighters. Auschwitz front gate. Arbach macht frei, which means if you work, you go free. The only true way to go free was to die. Dave spent time at Auschwitz. This is Dave's arm, his tattoo, 141631. The only camp to give out tattoos with Auschwitz. Cattle cars, main means of transportation. They would pack in as many as they could fit. No food, no water, no toilets. Cattle car prisoners being deported to an extermination camp. Top, Treblinka extermination camp. Bottom, Auschwitz train tracks. Jews selected for manual labor at Auschwitz. Auschwitz selection. To the left was gas chambers, to the right was slave laborers. The trains would come in and they would separate men, women, and children. The women and children were to the left. Most of them went directly to the gas chambers. Selections at Auschwitz. They would come around every once in a while and check on the prisoners. If they looked too sick, too feeble, they would take them and send them directly to the gas chambers. Auschwitz Jewish women and children awaiting instructions at the train platform. An elderly woman arrives at Auschwitz. An elderly woman walks with 3 children to the gas chambers. Barracks condition in Mauthausen. Dave spent time at this camp. Barracks conditions at Dachau. If you look at the bunk beds, there's no mattresses. That pot that they're laying on as a pillow is what they used to eat out of. Oskar Schindler. Everybody's heard of Oskar Schindler, Schindler's List. He's a gentleman in a dark jacket. 1944, Petrovatsky concentration camp. Sign says entrance to the camp and conversation prohibited under threat of being machine gunned. And this was on the Russian border. And as you can see, mostly children. And what child doesn't like to run and play? July 1944, Madonna crematory upon liberation. January 1945, crematory at Auschwitz. January 1945, children survivors at Auschwitz-Birkenau. January 1945, children show their tattoos to Soviet liberators at Auschwitz. Slave laborers at a granite mine in Mauthausen, Austria. Again, as I said, Dave spent time at this camp. Entrances to the Birkenstall, the underground Messerschmitt jet plane factory at Gusen 2. And this is a liberation photo. Those 2 holes in the mountain, they had a jet plane factory in there. Dave spent time at this camp. April 1945, adult prisoners looked like teenagers when Buchenwald was liberated. Prisoners weighed between 70 and 80 pounds when they were liberated. April 1945, General Dwight D. Eisenhower surveys dead prisoners. Eisenhower predicted that one day people would deny that the Holocaust ever happened. That's why he had photographers come in and take as many pictures as they could so we'd have the proof that it did indeed happen. May 29, 1945, empty Belsen concentration camp. This is where Anne Frank died. April 18, 1945, women SS guards captured by the British at Bergen-Belsen. May 1945, emaciated and sick survivors from left Woblin and from right Ebensee. Top, an emaciated survivor awaits medical attention. Bottom, a Soviet slave laborer accuses a Nazi guard of beating prisoners. An emaciated Auschwitz survivor receives medical attention. And then the Nuremberg trials, November 20th, 1945 to October 1st, 1946. 24 leaders of the Nazi, military, political, and economic sectors accused of war crimes. And now we'll hear from Mr. David Tuck.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. You saw pictures? I don't believe it myself. I'm here speaking to you. I was born in Poland. Polish population, 34 million. 10% of the population was Jewish, 3,400,000. 3,200,000 didn't make it. I lived on the German border. Not too many Jewish families lived there. In our town, 12 Jewish families. adult and children. All the towns around the border, there was a total of 125. I speak the language, I speak German, and we had friends. One friend came in to us and told us, there's going to be an order. There's an order already. They're going to give you 48 hours. Get as much as you can. And you're going to go to a ghetto. The day came, we got together to put us on horse and buggy. From all the towns, we had 125 people, adults and children. As we were traveling horse and buggy to Lodge Ghetto, the population of bigger cities, a lot of Jewish population, they said, they did it to you, they would never do it to us. They were wrong. I wind up in the Lodge Ghetto. They put fences around. You saw the bridge over there, they built it during the war. And then they told them, you're going to build your own government. You had to register, and they asked anybody to speak German, signed up. I spoke the language. I walked in the office to sign up. And they looked at me and he said, how old are you? I said, in December, I'm going to be 10 years old. He said, no, in December, you're going to be 15. Why? If you can work, you have no right to live. And then it told me, from now on, you're going to be a mechanic. So now I'm 15 years old. They gave me a job over there because I speak the language, and I was working in an office giving out ration cards. And months went by, and then one day there was an order. All men and boys signed up. You're going to go to work on the Autobahn. Anybody know what Autobahn is? Turnpike. They want to connect from Berlin to Warsaw. You're going to go for 3 months, then going to come home. They even promised us they're going to pay us. Wind up in the camp, not too far when I lived for, the big city, Posen, and they put us in a camp, a stadium. They took out all the toilets and put in bunk beds. You saw those bunk beds? The bunk beds was nothing more than wood and straw. They gave us one cover. Now I wind up in this camp. There's no factories, so I'm working at the turnpike. Now I want you to pay attention, please, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to tell you now. Every morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I had to get up, take a shower. Hot water, cold water, didn't make any difference. Then they gave us a slice of bread in the morning and a coffee, a slice of bread at night, in daytime a soup. If you can find anything, a potato, anything in it, you were lucky. With this, ladies and gentlemen, I lived for 5.5 years. Started working at a turnpike. Doing what? Chopping stones for the road. But chopping for months. Now, said right away, hey, something is too heavy for me, too much. Then I noticed that the foreman got himself a trailer. And me, I had the guts. All the people didn't do those things. I went over to the foreman, and I asked him in German if I can do anything for him. He said, what can you do for me? I said, I could clean your place up, polish his boots, keep everything clean, bring you food from the kitchen. For me, the most important thing is to give me some food from the kitchen. And I worked for him. Now I don't have to chop stones. And guess what? When he didn't finish some food, he threw it in the trash can. If it's still on the plate, I took it off and I ate it. When I got the slice of bread, I didn't eat it at one time. In the beginning, I was hungry, I ate it. I put it behind my shirt, and I nibbled on it to rest longer. Months went by. We were in this camp, I forgot to mention, we were in this camp, 1100, only Jewish people. When I came in, I got a number. My first number was 176. And from that moment on, I had one number already. Then I worked. One day he said, you're doing nothing the whole day. If I get somebody in here, I'm going to be in trouble. So he gave me an oil can, and I was oiling the wheels from the trucks that were picking up the dirt. One day, there was a roll call, and I wasn't too far off, and the commander came in, and he said, anybody speaks German? The Jewish people think they speak German. Everybody raised their hand. 11 people, 100 people raised their hand. I wasn't finished with it. I said, if I need anything special, I can do it. In German, everything. He said, yes. He said, get 10 boys together. Anything special work, you're going to do it. Months went by, nothing. I'm still working over there at the turnpike. One day came in. He said, tomorrow, you're going to go collect trash. Everybody in camp was envious. Why? They're going to pick up some food, collecting trash. And I worked picking up trash. The guard took us there, told us 4 o'clock, you're going to meet you at this place here. And we started collecting trash. Now the people, everybody was on ration of it. In the beginning, the Polish people didn't know who was collecting. They found out we're from the camp. They start dropping off mostly bread. Wrap it up in papers and bags. Put it behind my shirt. And then I said one day, let me ask them, anybody got some food? They said no. I know right where they're lying. I'm not the only one picking up. From that moment on, I know everybody is for himself. I put it behind my shirt and I had to finish it because that told us, if you come back to the camp, you get killed if you bring anything. Until this day, I think the bread was made from sawdust. I promised myself I'm going to go deeper in it and find out. Then, months went by. One day he came in, he said, tomorrow I'm going to give you some uniforms. He brought the uniforms in. A truck took us to a cemetery. The graves were open already. The assessment came. Gave me a little bag, a little hammer. And he told us all the jewelry, all the crosses and everything was there, even teeth, you're going to put them in this bag, you give them to me. And I worked for months, we worked. Then there was one cemetery, and we worked in another cemetery. And a lot of people did it. We were finished with the cemetery, and then they closed up the camp, and we're going widen the river, making deeper. Put us temporary barracks, put us there. We stood in the water, cold water, hot water. We were not bulldozers. We were the bulldozers. We worked on it. I tried to go off as much as I could, and everybody did it. We have to watch out if anybody sees us. We worked there months. We finished so many kilometers because I found out after the war there were 20 more camps, only labor camps, only Jewish people. Then they took us back. We finished ours. And months went by, a year went by, and suddenly people were getting sick. We had typhoid. I know I had it. I know I had temperature. But I was afraid to say it. God forbid if I say it, and they came in, and they have a roll call, I'm dead. Eventually, I made it. Years went by, and then they closed up the labor camp. They took us to Auschwitz. They put us in a passenger train. Why in a passenger train? You remember, we're supposed to be mechanics. Now they have a factory, they need us already. You saw the gates here? Walk through those gates. You saw the picture, the man and the woman separate. I was there. I got off the passenger train. The music was playing. I never knew, but Auschwitz. We just found it out over there. I walked into Auschwitz, walked into an office. The guy said, "What's your number?" And I told him 176. Then he asked me a question. "Are you against Hitler?" What do you think I said? "No, 9, no." He said, "But you're Judic, but you're Jewish." I said, "Yes, I'm Jewish, but I'm not against Hitler." Then he got mad at me. He said, "Get out." I thought he was going to beat me up or something. I got out, look out the doors. My God, thousands of people, thousands. Auschwitz was mixed people from every country in Europe. Didn't make any difference. Jewish people, Christians, everybody was there. Crooks, thieves, priests, everybody was there. The first thing was in Auschwitz, they gave me a haircut. They cut in the middle of the head a strip. Why? In case we want to run away, they know right away we from our camp. I can see it now, I picture it. Then, gave me a tattoo. It's not the way they're doing it now. It was a pen with ink in it. They made holes. They did it so fast that the ink was staying still out there. I wiped it off. I figured maybe I'm going to get away with it. Maybe someday I'm going to run away. Later on, they made it. Then they gave us a striped uniform, a pot, a shower, and it started all over the same thing in Auschwitz. Now, the same thing, but now I'm working in a factory. I got into the factory, they asked me the number, everything, and I said, "I'm a machine mechanic." I didn't even know I'm a machine mechanic. In the ghetto, they must have put on I'm a machine mechanic. They said all the machines are taken. They gave me a block of steel. I was building the big guns, 88 millimeter guns at that time. They're supposed to be for the bridge. I started filing it by hand. After 2 years, skinny bone already. What could I file? Now again, I saw an office, the control room. A guy is sitting by himself through a glass office. I had the guts to go over and knock at the door. He told me to come in. Later on, I find out that I was lucky that the guard didn't kill me because I had no right to go there. Now, we didn't start talking in German that I'm a mechanic. I didn't tell him I'm working on the bench. I couldn't help him. He said, "Yes." Now I don't file, I'm staying with him. And guess what? After a while, he started bringing me food, bread, mostly bread. He threw it in the trash can. Then he turned around, looked away the other way. I went to the trash can, put it up my shirt, and I nibbled it. Months went by, nothing happened. Then one day, and I don't know what was it, I took the slice of bread and put it in the drawer. Suddenly somebody went in, hit me from the back. I wound up on the floor. I said to myself, I better get up because he's going to break my bones and everything. And he says, "Open the drawer." I opened it. And he said, "What is this?" I said, "It's bread." Now, bread is different than our bread. It was white bread. He saw what was going on. So I said, I didn't tell him, "Where did you get it?" I told him I got it from a Czechoslovakian. Why is Czechoslovakian? In Auschwitz, every Sunday I was getting 2 cigarettes. I didn't smoke. I was trying to trade in the kitchen. They didn't want to give me bread, they want to give me soup. Water, I didn't want it. If you had somebody home, you could afford it, they send them packages to the Red Cross, and they deliver to them. That the Jewish people, either they were in the ghettos, on the camp, or they were dead. So, he knew better. He asked me, "Where did you get it?" And I said, "I got it from a Czechoslovakian." Now, I went to a Czechoslovakian, made a deal. I'm going to give him all the cigarettes every Sunday. And he said, "If I get a package, I give it to you." This was my excuse. But the guy knew better. So what he did, He put me 6 o'clock after we left the factory behind electric wires from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock, no bread anymore. I went to sleep, took a shower, now I'm waiting for the front of the block to give me the coffee. Nothing for you, go back for the front. I waited there till 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, guard came, took me out. I didn't know what. I looked around, I said, this is it. I thought he's going to kill me. He took me back to the commander's office. I walked into the commander's office, and I can picture it now. The guy's looking some paperwork, and me again had the guts to say, Commander in German, I have to go back to work. They need those guns for our fatherland. When I said fatherland, it means our country. He looked up and he was laughing. You know what he did? He said, go back and work for our fatherland. But next time if I see you here again, I hang you upside down. I even had the guts to say, thank you, danke. And I walked out. And you know something? From that moment on, I said, I am predestined to live. It's going to be, because I thought he's going to kill me. For them to kill somebody, they had a saying, how can those people, educated people in Europe, become murderers? They used to say, if they want to kill you, I feel sorry for you, but I have to kill you. Nothing. Nothing for them. And then, years went by, and this is already 1945. I went in 1940s and 1940. Skinny bone. I was still glad I could still walk and talk. They closed up the camp Auschwitz. Now we celebrate those 70 years. And January the 17th, they closed up my camp. Was next to Auschwitz. Put us in cattle cars. Closed up. No toilets, no nothing, no food, no nothing. Normal from Auschwitz to Linz, Austria, would take us 3.5, 4 hours. Took us 5.5 days. I went at the cable car, and I saw a little window for the cattle. They have a little window. I took off my shirt. I cut it in strips, hooked up to my little belt, and my belt hooked up to a little red cup, and put it out to the window, and I prayed to God, please let me pick up some snow. I picked up some snow. I took it in. People were laying and dying. They didn't even ask, they didn't try to get it, they had no strength. And I lived on it for 5.5 days. 5.5 days we traveled. Because as we were closer, the Russian bombed it, the railroad track, so we backed up. We were wandering around, I don't know, for 5.5 days. Then I came to godforsaken Mauthausen, near Linz. You saw the people over there in Mauthausen. A killing field over there. They gave us a shower. This is January the 27th. No, 17, 22nd. Give us a shower. Give us with the belt and the little red cup and the shoes. Strip naked. Get out. We have no place but to put you people. Thousands of people were there because they were closing up all the camps in Germany, in Poland. Then, a couple hours later, I thought I'm going to die already at that time. Get sick, lung, everything. I'm going to be dead. They gave us a uniform, just not uniform, sorry, regular clothing already, no more the stripes. They told us, we have no place for you. They put us on the floor. The next morning, they put us on trucks. You remember, I was a mechanic. Took us away to a Camp Gusen, number 2. You saw the mountain before the 2 entrances to the home over there. And I was building planes over there. There was, once in a while, we couldn't even get no food to the camp because the American and the Russian were bombing all the railroads. I used to pick up grass, leaves, anything I could. Went to the camp. Cut a piece of wood from the bunk bed. Boiled the water with the grass. and I ate it. Then a doctor told us, if you're going to continue doing those things, you're going to die. Eat the charcoal, the wood. The charcoal is supposed to stop diarrhea. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the 5.5 years, skin and bone. In the morning is a roll call. Machine guns all over. I thought it was going to be the killing. This is it. Would you believe it? The last day, count everybody. There were more dead bodies in this camp than living ones. They still counted us. Then the same guy, the same assessment, who could have killed us a day before, he said, go back to the barracks, stay there until the American going to come down 11:30. Anybody walks out of the camp, from the barracks, gets shot. Guess what? The American came, they took off. The American camps, I heard planes screaming and loud and shootings. The American came, they told us we can let you out. We have to make sure everybody's healthy. They were afraid for sicknesses. Then I signed up to head officers later on, American, Australian, Canadian. I signed up to go to America. Then, because I was born in Poland, there's a quota. If I had somebody in America who sponsored me, promised me a job here, I would be here in 1945. I came in 1950. From there, I got my strength back after a couple months. Then they opened the camps. People were going to Italy, the transport. Everybody was leaving already. I went to a guy. I said, can I go with you? He said, you're not Italian. I said, no. I said, can you make me something? Make me some papers, me and another guy. He gave me an Italian name, Marco Tucci. Now I'm in Italy. In Italy, they told me, get off the train in Milan. There's going to be apartment for your food, everything. You don't have to go to work, not just get together what you can. I wind up in Italy, I got off the train. I stayed there for 7, 8 months. I got my strength back. I think it must have been the vino over there. And then the guy said, let's go to Paris. As long as I had some papers, we went to Paris. Then I went to Paris, and then I went to a Jewish organization, and I told him the story. He said, I want to stay in Italy now, in Paris, France. He said, don't tell him he came from Italy. Tell him he came from Germany. So I got some papers, can stay. Now he said, you have any family? I don't know how I remembered. I gave him a name. I don't even remember it now. After 2 weeks, he said, somebody wants to talk to you. A lady came to his office because I started talking, and she said, you know something? I'm your second cousin from your father's side. So she invited me to her house for lunch. Then a young girl came in. She told me she just came in 45 from a labor camp in East Germany. She worked in a factory making cloth. And then I said, I'm going to go to America. I tried to tell her, why don't you come with me to America? This way, another 20 years, going to be another war. I went by, I started dating, and eventually, guess what? I talked her in, we got married, came to America. Now we're in America. I don't know the language. Didn't make any difference how many languages I speak. I don't know the language. I got the organization. They gave me 6 months of food and 6 months where to live. They put me in a clothing factory to make men's clothing. I had no idea. I was working there, was making $1 an hour, minimum wage at that time. I got a check, 40 hours, got a check, I came home, $26. My wife said, where's the rest of the money? You know, at that time, I don't know, maybe your parents, they called us greenhorns at that time. I don't know why. Believe me, if I would be a greenhorn, I wouldn't be speaking to you today. I was smart enough. I came back, I asked the guy, what's with the $26? He said to me, union Jews. You joined the union. I said, how about $7 more? Uncle Sam. I didn't know what Uncle Sam is. I said, I don't have an Uncle Sam. He explained to me. From now on, I knew about it. Guess what? I was working. Then I met somebody who was living with my grandparents. It was a neighbor. He was here, came here also. His family was interior decorators. He told me, why don't you come with me? I'll give you some to make a living. Look, then guess what happened? He said he got himself a French interior decorator. And the customer said, why do you go with him? Open your own business. Guess what happened? I came in November 1950. In 52, I opened a store, Dave's French Interior Decorator, in the Bronx. Anybody from the Bronx? Nah. Anybody from Brooklyn? No. I was in this business for 32 years. The only thing I have a problem, I picked up the language. I'm doing the best I can. But who invented spelling? Years later, I was invited to a convention. Teachers. I spoke to them. Then I asked him the same question. He told me, I asked, why do you put an A after E? Guess what he told me? It's silence. I said, if it's silence, don't put it in. Then I understand. I still have a problem with it. Then we had a daughter. Where did that G got in there? Where do you don't even then I said, it must be silent. I'm still doing it, ladies and gentlemen, every morning when I get up. The language I'm doing pretty good. I do puzzles. Every morning when I eat breakfast, I do 3 puzzles. Every day. I did it this morning too. He called me up. I said, you finished? I said, yeah. I'm still learning. It's still the best country. There was problems here. Sometimes people give me a hard time. You know why? Because they think they're born here in America, they're better than I am. No. I don't care if they have a title. I was in conversation with some people, goes back years. We stood around. After I was finished, the guy made a comment. You know from where it's coming from. I didn't like it, what he said. What do you mean where it's coming from? And he said, you know, he's a doctor. And he said, tell me, you woke up this morning, you look in the mirror, you didn't like yourself, you're blaming me for it? Then I called him stupid and I walked away. You know, why I'm bringing it up? I know we have students here. But the students, I have a problem. The problem is some students commit suicide. Why? Because somebody is giving them a hard time. I went through hell. There were times I prayed to God, please let me see the light the next day. Why would somebody, because it bothers you, to commit suicide? It's not your problem. It's their problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I will never forget, never forgive. But I don't live with hate. If I would live with hate, I will give them the satisfaction they did it to me. I don't sit there and thrive on it. I don't speak the Holocaust survivors how to survive. I don't read books about the Holocaust. But I will never forget, but I don't live with hate. It hurts me when somebody commits suicide because somebody gave him a hard time. Talk to your kids. That's what I'm talking to the schools. It's a terrible thing. It hurts. I can't understand. But I'm here today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm doing this over 30 years. Last year, I spoke over 10,000 students. I appreciate you came. I don't believe it myself sometimes how I made it. But it's predestined. In Hebrew, they say it, I don't know. It's Basher. And I'm here, I'm speaking to you. I thank you for coming, but I hope you have questions. You see, in class, I said to 2 students, they ask questions, you go back to class. I couldn't say it here. You know something? When I tell them I want to go ask questions, they ask right away. So ladies and gentlemen, anything you ask, It's okay with me. Another thing, I don't grade nobody today because the bodies are different. I'm always teasing the kids. But I'm happy for you came. I'm kidding around, I'm joking around. You know why? I live the best I can. It's still the best country in the world. Nothing is perfect in life. Not everybody's rich, not everybody's poor. That's life. Do the best of it. Enjoy it. Every morning I wake up here, I'm going to do my puzzles again. And I'm happy. And I go out and speak. And if I don't speak, even sometimes my daughter tried to give me a hard time. You know what I tell her? What are you picking on me because I'm Jewish? and she said, oh, you with your jokes. But that's what it is. I don't live with it. I can't sit around and thrive on it, you know. I do the best I can with the language. Guess what? I was in one school, we were a learning academy in Philadelphia. After I finished, they gave me a title. Doctor. Doctor in awesomeness. I must be the only one in America. But I'm happy with it. I came home to my daughter and I said, they have more respect now. I'm a doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm kidding around. You know why? I'm happy in my life. I'm still around. Every time I wake up in the morning, I said, oh my God, I'm here. I'm booked already till May. Anybody has a school, a temple, church, invite me, I will get there. As long as it has to do with the Holocaust, I'll come into it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming.
At this time, if you have questions for Mr. Tuck, you can go ahead and raise your hand. Look, we already have one.
David, you entered at 10 and they made you 15. Now you came with your parents and your family?
No.
Okay, hold on.
You're the one. Yeah.
Can you say that
I'll
question again?
repeat it again.
Thank you.
What I want to know is you were taken at 10 with your family. Did you see your family again at all?
Yes. Now you brought up this, I'm going to show you my family. Why I didn't bring it up. This picture, it's my mother and father. This picture I found here in America. My grandparents mailed it to my mother's friend. 6 months after my birth, my mother died. My father took off, remarried, I never saw him. I was living with my grandparents. It's my grandma, my grandfather, it's my uncle in the Polish army. See the little boy? That's me. That's the only picture. I never had it. I found it here in America. Somebody gave it to me. Remember the girl? That's what we asked when we came to America. I talked her in. She went with me. I looked different at that time, too. That's our wedding picture. Now, everything was rented. Paris over there. That's my family. Now, my daughter lives here. I have one daughter, 3 grandchildren, in 8th grade. When you hope in your life, you have hope. That's okay. Now, you know why? I met my father the first time when I was 8 years old. I went on vacation. My grandparents were getting older. Somebody walks into my uncle's place. Can you picture this? I'm your father. 8 years. I never knew I had a father. I was asking my grandparents, but they didn't want to do too much. You remember I had the guts to go do those things in camp? I was by myself. When I had no brother, no sister, nobody. I used to be with strangers. Anything I had to do myself, go out and play with the kids to accept me. I think that's made me through in camp. I had to do everything. He came to America. I saw my father in the same camp. We were together. I saw him once when I was behind electric wires. Somebody must have told him. because I was living in different blocks. I was a mechanic. I don't know what he was. I was a stranger. I lived there for 2 years with him. I was a stranger. When I got there the first day, I was crying. I want to go back to my Bobby. Because I was afraid. Suddenly I have a family. Now he had a wife, 3 children, 2 girls. Eventually, I stayed there. School came around. I had to go to school. 2 years later, the war broke out. But you know something? He came to America. I was in the same camp in Mauthausen. He never checked on me if I'm alive. He had some family here. I didn't know. He came here with his wife and a stepsister. I lost a stepsister and a stepbrother. That's life. I don't talk about it because it hurts me. People saying now people have children, they don't bother with them. It happened at that time. But it happened, what can I do? That's why I don't talk about it, because it hurts me if I just remember. Why? What did I ever done to them? Anybody else?
One of the students wants to know if you speak Hebrew.
I speak Hebrew.
Yes.
Some words. Listen, I attended one thing my grandparents made sure. I got education. I get into Hebrew school in the morning and public school, or vice versa. Yeah, I can read Hebrew. I don't speak. Some words I do. And praying, yes, I know how to pray. I thank them for it.
Okay.
Some holidays, if the rabbi doesn't need help, I help him out.
The second question is, Elizabeth wants to know, did you notice as the Holocaust got closer that kids treated you different? I think she...
Holocaust got closer, did kids treat you different? When,
In the family?
In the beginning, when
No,
was coming to
no.
happen too quick.
We had anti-Semitism in Poland, a lot. But I lived on the German border. There was not, no, it was so quick over there. It was a blitzkrieg, like a lightning. It was, I remember we were pulling with the guns with horses, and he came in with tanks and everything. And the whole world stood still. They're still staying still now. People dying, killing in the name of God. How can you kill somebody in the name of God?
Okay, we have another internet question. This is from Shannon, and she would like to know, have you ever returned?
No, there's nothing for me to. I could go back many times. People ask me organizations. There was just a gathering last week in Poland, the 70th anniversary, when the Russians liberated Poland. Now, they took me out on the 17th, 10 days later. If I would stay there, I wouldn't be for 5 months in Austria over there, not a God-forsaken camp. See, come on, don't be bashful. I can send you back to class. Yes, ma'am. That's going to keep you in shape today.
My son was telling me before we came here that he had heard somewhere, maybe he had heard somewhere, that the prisoners, when they were working in the factories, intentionally hurt or messed up the missiles they were working on or the machines they were working on to kind of thwart what the Germans were doing.
You know something? I'll give you an example. I was working on the plane. He told me to test the bombs, to drop the Stukas, drop the bomb. What would it do any good? They lost the war anyway. I don't know. If they did it, they were stupid. That's all. You could have gotten killed just like that. It put me into connect all the wires and then I checked the plane. Why to do it? If somebody did it, maybe it wouldn't make them so important. I wouldn't done it. A lot of them. No, why should I do it? Anybody would care if I got killed? That's all. No. Yes.
Did you go close to anybody, like in the camps?
You remember the bunk beds? How people were laying in the bunk beds? I know a guy from this side and from this side. I woke up in the morning, he went to shower, I took a shower, waited in line, He went to work, I went to work. At night, in the beginning, you have to be careful. If you hide any bread, the guy couldn't steal it from you. Everybody was for himself. There was times I woke up in the morning, the guy next to me is gone. He died during the night. It's a shame. I know the name, everything, but then the first name, that's it. We walked around after a while like zombies. Just living skeletons. I weighed 78 pounds when I came out from camp. I was 15 years old at that time. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned this, and I've read it many times as well, that you'd have a fever of 103, but you still have to go to work, and you still have to do what you have to do. Where does that come from, that resilience and just...
Now I have 103, I go to the hospital. I told you, remember, I had to do it as a kid myself. I wanted to live because I had nothing. Nothing. I had no mother, no father, nothing. I had grandparents. I wanted to live. I still do it now. I have the guts to go, I don't care, I can call up anybody. I want to come to you, speak to you. It does work. In Hebrew, they call it chutzpah. It's me guts for the Irishman. Yes.
You were saying that when you were younger, you were in Hebrew school, that your grandparents brought you there, and that a lot of times when you're in the camp, you were praying to God to help you survive. Were there any verses from the Torah or what you were learning in Hebrew school that stuck with you?
I can read it. No, the verses, let me say something. Those rabbis at that time, they were terrible. If you didn't know how to do it, anything, by the end of the week, you were in trouble. So I had to learn Yiddish, the Hebrew, how to translate. It's in camp. It's hard for me to understand myself. You live in a different world. You're fighting for your life. Maybe this is the last day. Just walk around. Yes. Get excited, scream out.
In the slides, it showed Eisenhower taking pictures because they figured in time people would deny what happened. Have you come across people who challenged what happened?
It happened to me in Philadelphia. It wasn't the library, free library in Philadelphia. I had the president with me and another guy with me, and somebody stood up. It says, "You complain about the Nazis? The Israelis do the same thing now to the Palestinians." I didn't know what to say, and I told him, I'm not involved in politics. But you said you just said it. They're doing the same thing. And I said, listen, America, the whole world donates millions of dollars to the Palestinians. Instead, they build schools, hospitals, educated the kids. The guys become millionaires, the leaders, and the poor people, the poor suckers dying for hunger, hate. And I said to him, anything else? He said, no. I was once invited to temple. 12 students came, university students from the Middle East. It was from Lebanon, Egypt, Iraq, and Turkey. Everything what I said, everything they blamed America. I said to them, tell me, we all believe in the same God. Why the Shia and the Sunnis killing themselves? And those are students, university students, because America and Israel instigate them. The kids are brought up like this. If they would have just stopped at the beginning, when Israel became a state again, they could have done. Why nobody knows? I blame a lot of time I talk to Israelis. Why don't you publish and speak up? Hundreds of thousands from the Palestinians work in Israel every day. Sometimes you read that Israel holds back taxes. Israel collects taxes, millions of dollars, and gives them to the Palestinians. But they're working there. Look what happened not too long ago in Gaza. Why? Can you imagine if they wouldn't have had those missiles against them? How many Israelis we killed now? Now they're going to build the atom bomb. Eventually they're going to do it. And they promise they're going to annihilate them. You know what's going to happen? After a while, it's going to be a parking lot over there. Nobody's going to be there if they start doing it. There was one guy, I was listening, he was on TV. He said it took 7 years, Hitler, to get rid of 6 million Jews. It would take Iranians 7 hours to get rid of them. I hope this never happens.
You brought up a few times how you said that you don't carry the hate with you, and we've just discussed a few examples. And in a country and a world where so many people do carry around so much hate with them, how do you not carry around the hate with you?
What would it do good to me if I live with hate? You know, a lot of things, I know a lot of people said, even you say to your own parents, I hate you, sister, brother, anybody, I hate you. It's easier to say. Think about it, what hate does. If I would sit around every day and thrive on it, look at my number, what they did to me, I would kill myself. I would destroy my life. I wouldn't commit suicide, but I'm not too stupid. But all you got is life once in your lifetime. But I can never forget. And if I walk out, when I walk out from here, it's over. I did a good thing. I told the people, you're the future. Because people are going to deny that this thing ever happened. You're the future.
I have 2 more internet questions.
Go ahead.
Somebody wants to know, what did your wife think when you tried to get her to come over?
What did your wife think when you tried to talk her into coming?
Well, at the beginning, remember I told you she had some family there. But I told her 20 years later, there's going to be another war. I said, it's America. Everybody talk about America. It's the promised land. No, eventually she came with me. The beginning, we had a rough time. Bit rough.
Another question was, did you find your grandparents afterwards?
No, they died before. They died before. Those 2 years when I was with my father, they passed away. But I always think about it. It made sure that I get education, even if I don't know how to spell right. Everybody speaks a different language here. What? Spanish. ¿Cómo está? Spanish. Now, in French, it's ¿Comment ça va? Anybody speak Hebrew? No. Ktsat. A little bit. That's what. I learned a little bit, you know. You know, it was funny. When you read, you asked me before about the Bible, the Torah. You read the Bible, the scripture, it's like the Catholic used to use, remember, it didn't know how to, what it was, Latin. You said the prayers, everything, but you didn't know what it meant. I do some of it, I do. To speak is a different language. Go ahead. Now, you know what she says? If I speak Polish, ja rozmawiam polsku, tak. Kiedy...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned a little bit. I do have a question though.
Yeah. Now I wanted to get in Polish with him. It happened in school. A teacher teaches kids from international countries, not the whole world. Now, we were there. They didn't want to stop talking. Guess what? She started speaking in Spanish, and everybody shut up. You know,
I'm just curious, why do you think there are so many Jews still being persecuted today, and why is there a rise in anti-Semitism? And does it bother you that our current administration isn't really doing much to stop it?
it's anti-Semitism. If they wouldn't have the Jews, they're going to pick on somebody else. there used to be a minister. I forgot this word. He said first they came after the Union, then they came after the Jews, then they came after me, then was nobody left to talk for me. People doing those things. In Poland, at least a little bit in Poznan. You heard about it? No, you were born here in America. You learned the parents will speak Polish?
My ex was born in Poland, so I learned a little.
That's all. Sometimes we used to talk Polish. My daughter, we speak Yiddish. At least I have somebody. Yes?
I have one more, hold on.
Keep going, don't worry about it.
You came to America. Did you ever consider going to Israel instead?
I was visiting Israel twice.
But you didn't want to live there?
No. I don't know, I just wanted to be, I was there. It's a beautiful country.
Did you, when you came to America, did you surround yourself with Jewish people? Were you more comfortable, or were you able to, I know it must have taken a good amount of time, but were you comfortable being in a diverse community?
Yes, first of all, in Brooklyn, a lot of Jewish people live there. I was given an apartment up there in Blake Avenue, near Pitkin Avenue, Then I opened a store in the Bronx on Elder Avenue, and Chester Avenue, next Chester Avenue. And first of all, it's good to come to people in the beginning when they speak your language. This is where you pick it up. After a while, you have to do it. Now if I want to speak Polish, I'm thinking in English. Yeah, the same thing with Yiddish and everything. Yes.
We had another question. A student wanted to know, since you lived in France, what do you think about what was going on currently in France?
A lot of what's happened, it's up to the government. You see, after the war, the French had colonies in the Middle East, and they invited a lot of people there. If they let them get away, last year, 7,000 Jews immigrated to Israel from France. A lot of them want to leave it now. Anti-Semitism is building up. Again, they have to pick on somebody what's left over. And I blame the people, the other countries. I don't know. I do the best I can, and I hope the government doesn't believe those guys in Iran. They're building the atom bomb again. Anyway, they're hiding it, they're building. I hope they never have it. If they're going to have it, they're going to threaten us and other Arab countries. Look what the ICE is doing in the name of God. How is this possible to do it? This goes back in the beginning. They just found in Israel now, you're talking about Israel, they found a skull 55,000 years old. There were people 55,000 years ago. They figured out that those people, this person must have been intermarried, he said, because most of them came from Africa to Europe. So he was mixed already. I don't know if it was a he or she, or was just a head.
Have you ever thought about having your tattoo removed, and if not, why?
It doesn't bother me. I don't sit on it and watch it. No, it would drive me nuts. Forget it. It's there. Look, people get crazy now, tattooing all over. First one, the Jewish religion, if you have a tattoo, you can bury it in the cemetery. I'm exceptional. I didn't do it. Somebody did it for me. But now look at Israel. You can see the girls, everybody. It's a different life now. Listen, it's different. It's progress, different. If they want to do it, I didn't do it. My wife didn't have it. I think my grandson has it. He has the children's name on it. Something? I don't bother them. They don't bother me. I don't tell them how to live their life. As long as they treat each other nice, it's their problem. If they want something, they ask me, fine. I don't tell them nothing. I told you, my daughter, I kid around with her, but that's all. We call up, tell her right. The grandchildren call up. That's it. I'm happy I'm still around, that's it. You know something? somebody asked me, "You're up in years." I said, "Yeah, I'm 55 and older." Then I said, anytime I sneeze, my grandma used to say, "You should live to 120. I don't want to disappoint her. I asked her once, "Why 120? She said, "Moses lived to 120, why couldn't you?" Now, you know, sir, you asked me, but you see what I'm doing? I'm kidding around. I don't want to live with it. I lived there 5.5 years, I had enough of it. I'm just wondering what happened to other people. Hurts me when somebody gets killed or some girl commits suicide. I told the girls, don't fight over boys. If they don't like it, it's their problem. Same thing I told to the girls. Forget it. Don't worry about it. It's their problem. Remember? Somebody doesn't like it, forget it. You're predestined. Look, I went through hell. I wound up with a beautiful lady in Paris. She passed on. But we were married for 54 years. Yeah. You want to go back to class or you want to stay here?
I have a question. So my grandfather was actually born in Augsburg and was a teenager during the war, Augsburg, Germany, and he was a pretty funny guy. His father was killed in the war, but he had this sense of humor, and I'm sensing you have a pretty good sense of humor as well.
You understand me,
right? And obviously, you know, the Holocaust and it is very sobering and very serious. But I'm just wondering, in the camps, in the labor camps, you know, what was obviously it was a very difficult situation, but was there ever a period or ever a time that, you know, what was I hesitate to use the word humor, but was there ever a time where, you know, just to get through the difficult times, the hardships, I mean, the devastation, I mean, was there ever, you know, that interaction between each other that kind of, you know, helped you get through that time?
Each camp was different. I was living in Auschwitz. There were thousands of camps. Each of us had a different story to tell. I never asked a Holocaust survivor how to survive. I did the best. We did all the best. What can you do? You see today, tomorrow is gone. You can do nothing about it. I thought I'm going to go any day. I was glad because when the war was over, I weighed 78 pounds, skin and bone. I looked like a zombie. I was happy I can still walk and talk. But I made it, and I'm happy. I know it's hard for people to understand. For me, myself, how did I make it? 5.5 years. But I did it.
Have you become
Excited.
I'm wondering, of all the people that have come to the States after the Holocaust, have you gotten to know any of them or spent time with many, or do you still?
Yeah, we had that organization. First of all, I came to America. Listen to this. I found out my city. We had organization. Guess the first thing what they said when I came to America? Anybody guess the first thing? You have to buy a lot at the cemetery. I said, I just came, I survived. You want to bury me already? It's true. I belong to the organization, but I had to go in business myself. I was doing, had my daughter ready, and we had the organization in Philadelphia, large one, a lot of them passing on, and it's getting smaller, but I don't like people that try to belittle me or somebody, try to impose that they're better than I am. I don't like it. I don't belittle nobody. Once in a while, this doctor, I belittle him and told him he's stupid. But you know something? I still talk to him. Don't think you're better than I am.
Have you ever met Ali Wiesel?
No. Ali Wiesel was lucky. He came in 1944. He came from Romania. I was there for 5.5 years. He came there maybe 10 months, a year. It was like, I'm glad for them. I'm happy for them. They came to Auschwitz in 1944. They thought, they just came from the ghetto. Here, they looked at us and they said, we're going to show you how to work. 8 guys were digging a tunnel from Auschwitz to get out and escape. Where would they escape? They don't know Polish, they don't know nothing. No hair, no nothing. Guess what? Somebody squealing them. They took those 8 guys. I remember, I can see it now. Put them in a tree, put them all hung up, and told them that's what's going to happen to you. The guy who squealed, he was an Hungarian. He was wearing a red circle in his back in the front. Anybody went close to him got shot. So he was the squealer, but I don't know what happened after the war to him. Somebody must be taking care of him. No, it's. I had my family. I was in business. I had to make a living. I want to be like an American. So with the back.
David, I guess what I want to say is thank you, because my own father.
I know how you feel. That's what happened to the kids. A lot of them make them cry. That's it. I do it too.
My father was at Battle of the Bulge, picking up for the medical unit. Would not talk of it, being 18, 19, 20. And I know that my niece finally said to my father, Dad, Grandpa, we're supposed to interview vets. And he kept saying no. And just as you do, my mother said to him, if you do not speak of it, it will be repeated. So I say thank you.
Thank you. You know how you feel. I told you, I talk about it, but I don't sit there and thrive on it. Life is a beautiful thing. Not everybody likes you, so what? Too bad for them. I like myself. That's all.
I actually like your approach on just like, how when people hate you and stuff like that, how you don't really internalize it like that. That's their problem. I've actually heard someone say this before, because you can't actually change those people, but that hatred is like a poison that you take hoping that someone else dies. And it's true, like, the way that you're saying it, it's just like, you really hate that person. That person has no idea that they hate you.
Well, they know that, they know they hate him, but it's their problem.
Yeah, it's their problem.
It's their problem. It's hate to destroy yourself.
Yeah. A question I did have, though, I know that, like, kids that go through, like, extreme poverty, like, sometimes have, like, habits that they carry on. Like, if you went through extreme poverty, you might hoard food, like, and as far as your experience, like you were saying, like, while you were in the camp, you would hide bread. Was that something that you would actually, like, do even afterwards, like, just out of habit, or did you just, like, out of sight, out of mind, like, different situations?
I just want to live the best I can. I don't envy nobody. They work for it, they do it, they deserve it. I worked hard. In the beginning, I worked hard, very hard. I had a store. I was interior decorating. My wife was selling dress codes. At that time, people were sewing. And I had a hard life. But I don't care what anybody. I'm happy for everybody what they are. I just don't want them to get. You hear stories in television, in news, what's happening to people, families. I don't believe it. They don't like each other, big divorce. 54% of this country divorces. So, but life is not perfect. Everybody has a different interpretation. But I was married to my wife 54. We had disagreement mostly because of the business. That's all. I want to do it this way, so we do it. I said, all right, do it your way, that's all. That's it. Yeah, I did it. I didn't. I take it easy. To me, I lived through it, and I'm happy. There were times in camp I said to God, please let me see the light the next day. I wanted to live. I had nothing. Nothing. I know those kids have no parents, nobody. or they have a father and mother, the fighting thing. Those things happen, it's life. But think about it. When you grow up older, nothing is perfect in life. Take a little, give a little, you make it. Remember what I told you. If anything gets bad, when you get married, I'm talking to the younger generation. When you get married, nothing's going to be perfect. Give a little, take a little, that's it. That's life. You can do nothing about it. Two different characters get together, we fall in love, yeah, and suddenly it has to involve with business, money, everything. It's a problem. Don't take it serious. Live the best you can. It's still the best country in the world, I'm telling you. At least we can speak up here. This side fell asleep. What is oh, someone. Anything is important.
But you mentioned you had suspicions about the makeup of the bread. It's hard to believe somebody could live on a cup of coffee and 2 slices of bread for 5.5 years. Have you ever found out or investigated enough to what they might have made the bread out of?
No, I didn't. I'll leave it to other people who have nothing else to do. They want to be politicians. No, I don't believe it myself, but that's what happened. I'm proof. I know it myself. Yes.
What do you say? I was speaking with someone, she was Austrian, and her grandfather was, I guess, Austrian and guarded the ghettos. And what do you say? She said it wasn't that bad. And then she kept saying, but I said, well, why would this happen? And she said, well, it was the Jewish people, it was their fault because they were doing well in business and they were making all this money, and somehow that justified it. However, she grew up thinking, wasn't that bad, and the Jewish people deserved it because they were successful.
Let me say something. The Jewish people, if you want to go to university, you have to be rich to pay off somebody to get some Jewish person to university. Now, what the Jewish people had, they had stores. They were selling pots and pans, like dress goods, and other thing. They weren't involved in banks. I'm talking about before. Now it's different. Before, you couldn't go to university. So the people who came out shopping, they always had Jewish people. Because who owns the airlines, who owns the planes, who owns other things? They couldn't own. They couldn't even own property at that time. They had to do something. And if you're involved, if somebody comes in, always Jewish people, they blame the Jewish people. You have to blame somebody. If you don't blame the family, don't you blame the family? I hate the sister, I hate the brother, but if something happens, why do we blame each other? It goes on for thousands of years, right? In the beginning, it had to do with the religion. That's life. What they're doing now, look at this. What's in the Middle East? They're killing each other. ISIS killing each other. They pray to God. God told them to kill. What God's going to tell them to kill? You want to blame somebody? You can blame. You can blame your neighbor. Right? You don't like the neighbor, you blame me. He walks here, walks there, didn't like me. Yeah.
We have another question online, real quick. Was there one act of kindness that you remember?
One act of kindness that do you remember?
If anybody did it to me, kindness. The other thing is my wife. You see, when you bring up something, I bring up my childhood, my grandparents. They made sure I get the education. I still remember them, never forget.
this one is also somewhat unrelated. But I was just wondering that.
Speak up a little bit louder.
I was just wondering, in your later experiences afterward, did you happen to meet any, say, World War II veterans that were able to, like, see the aftermath, like when Eisenhower was having the pictures taken?
No. I was associate member of a post, 697. I joined after the war.
I guess I was just, thank you for coming, and I guess I was wondering, for you personally, why do you do this and travel and speak to groups? Why do you choose to do that so
First,
successfully?
my daughter went to the Chamonix High School. She was teaching history. And that she told them, the school, I have my parents were there. From that moment on, I'm doing this over 30 years, especially with people denying that the Holocaust ever happened. So I'm doing it. Yes, go ahead.
I was just curious, I'm sorry if you said it before, but your wife, when you met her, what country was she from? And,
Poland.
Okay, and
Yeah.
was she in a concentration camp as well? Or what?
Yeah, she wasn't, remember I told you she was in a labor camp.
Okay, labor
In
camp.
East Germany.
Mhm.
She was working in a factory making cloth for the army.
So,
But she was young, and she told the older ladies, put some makeup on it, rouge or something, make her look older.
so she was a little younger than
Yeah.
you. And then,
You
when-
don't have to rub it in, that's okay.
And then when you guys came to America, did she stay in touch with her family in Poland in any
Yes,
way?
yeah.
And then,
But she lost 3 brothers.
in the camps.
I found out after the war, went to Auschwitz. They came from Auschwitz right away to gas chambers.
And then I'm fast forwarding now. You have the business in Brooklyn or the Bronx?
The Bronx.
In the Bronx. And you had the business for 30 years, and you worked.
Well, I moved from the Bronx. I moved around.
Where did you move to? Did you move to Philadelphia?
No, first I went to, you remember they were building Cherry Hill Mall?
Yes.
And I went to Cherry Hill Mall on a Sunday. And they looked at me and said, no, we need that. We need Macy's. You know, little store. And I told him, I'll never forget, Macy's wasn't big like now. Maybe started from the beginning. He said, no, we can't do nothing about it. Going home, I went through 130, through Burlington. And I saw a piece of property there. And I called up, the guy said he wants $140,000. I didn't have this kind of money. Eventually, I called up a bank, and you know something? I told you I had guts. I told him to help me out. 2 weeks later, he called me back. He said, you're going to get a mortgage. We're going to own the building. You're going to own it, but you're going to pay us. And I moved to Burlington. I built a building. I had 6 stores rented. There was a luncheonette. You know, they had those, the olden days, they had those coffee and drinks, like, you know, luncheonette. And in the morning, I got a phone call. The building is on fire after 6 months. I had insurance on it, but I didn't have business insurance because I couldn't prove what I made. And after that, I had to get partners. And with partners, you can go out maybe for a drink. Then they get loaded and they fight each other. But after 5 years, they had no knowledge, nothing, because they had money, had guarantee. And I went on my own. I wound up in Feasterville. And I was there in a mall. And then the mall didn't do good because the Chamonix Mall opened. And so after 30 years, I said, it's enough. And guess what? I went to college. I needed 4 credits. I want to sell real estate. I got the credit. I went, took a test, 4-hour test. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I had to do 72 to be able to make it, to get the license. The office calls me up, says, you made it. I said, how good was I? He said, what do you care? You made it. I would still want to know how good I was. And I had a license, real estate. But in the real estate, you're a taxi driver. You drive around people. Then they want to pop. Anything you show them, they said, no. If I came in a place, I said, I just put a new carpet. I don't like the color. You know why? Get the price down. I had to work over the weekend. I couldn't go out, couldn't enjoy it, retire. After 3 years, I said, it's enough. That's all. And from that moment on, I enjoyed life. Going around kidding. Now, would you believe it? I came in here, but I'm going to kid around, laugh around, but I'm happy I'm alive. I'm happy for you. You came and listened to me. You know, I get paid by the head. I ask every year, 10,000 people last year. I asked my boss, the president, organization. He said, I gave you double zeros. What you're getting now, you're getting double. I'm just kidding, you know, I don't get it. But that's what I'm doing. I'm happy about it. But anything, like you got emotional.
I did have, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, keep going.
I'd rather hear what you were going to say about, you said emotional.
Yeah, because when I talk about my upbringing, as a kid, I get emotional. What I missed.
I had one more question, and
Go
it was
ahead.
about your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. First of all, thank you also for coming today and for speaking to our school and to all the schools and places that you go to. I wonder, at like a family dinner or get-together, do your grandchildren and great-grandchildren know what you're doing and talk to you about it and ask you questions? I wonder.
We don't talk about it anymore. They know it. They know.
Right.
I go to the schools.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the.
And your children already know the story, passing it down through the family.
But I don't repeat it. We don't sit there and try about
Right.
it. They have to make a living. They're married. There's their problem. If they have a problem, if they want advice, I tell them. If not, I tell them, now I have a doctor title.
If anybody has one more question, and then we'll wrap up this evening.
Go ahead.
Where did you go to college? I don't know if you said that, but
Where? Here? Bucks County Community College. There's another, the lady over there.
So when you were talking about being in the camps, it sounded like you didn't really make a lot of friendships or connections. Did you do that deliberately because the thought of losing people constantly would be too much?
No, at that time, as a young boy, you don't talk about just survival. I walked around. After a while, I walked around like a zombie. Just the boy go back home, did the same thing like I'm like a computerized.
All right, Mr. Tuck, thank you so much for coming. Can we give Mr. Tuck a round of applause?
I'm going to finish. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to me. And if you have any schools or churches, any place, I'll be there. Tell them there's no charge. That's the first thing they ask. No charge. Go ahead. Oh, I thought you volunteered. I thank you for listening. Thank you.